the wrapping of Ricardo's present and conferring parental approval on Marie's suggested alterations to his positioning of the silver balls and tinsel on the tree. And then it was bedtime, and his turn to read to Ricardo. When he had finished, he stood for a moment in the doorway to Marie's room, listening to Isabel reading, the bedside lamp making a corona around his wife's dark head as she bent over the book. He walked downstairs, blessing his luck for finding her. Few men, he reckoned, found one such woman in their lives, and he had found two. True, with both there had been a price. Chrissy had been killed in a road accident only months after their marriage, sending him into a downward spiral of drunkenness and self-pity which had almost cost him his career and self-respect. Like Margaret Thatcher, he had been saved by the Falklands War, and in the middle of that conflict, fate had led him to Isabel, who came complete with a hurt he longed in vain to heal. But he wasn't complaining. Now, at the grand old age of 42, Jamie Docherty would not have swapped places with any man. He went through to the kitchen, opened a can of beer and poured it into the half-pint mug he had liberated from an officer's mess in Dauphin nearly 20 years before. "How about one for me?" Isabel asked him from the doorway, a smile on her face. He smiled back and reached for another can. She sat down on the other side of the kitchen table, and they shared the silence for a few moments. Her smile had gone, he noticed. "What's worrying you?" she asked, suddenly. You, he thought. Nothing, really," he said. "Maybe the future. I've never been retired before. It's a strange feeling." He grinned suddenly. "Let's face it, we haven't even decided which continent we're going to live in." "There's no hurry," she said. "Let's get Christmas out of the way first." She put down her half-empty glass. "You still want fish and chips?" she asked. "Yeah, I'll go and get them." "You stay with the children. I feel like some fresh air." "And some time on your own," Docherty thought. "You sure?" he asked. "Sí, no es problema." Docherty continued sipping his beer, wondering how many other households there were in Glasgow, where all four occupants often moved back and forth between English and Spanish without even noticing they had done so. He had become fluent in the latter during the half-year's compassionate leave he had spent travelling in Mexico after Chrissy's death. Isabel had acquired her bilingual skills before meeting him, during the 7 years of her enforced exile in England. Still, their linguistic habits were hardly the strangest thing about their relationship. When they had met, he had been a 10-year veteran of the SAS, and she, one of the few surviving members of an Argentinian urban guerrilla group. If the Sun had got hold of the story, their marriage would have made the front page. Something along the lines of, "SAS hero weds RG Red." In the public mind, and particularly on the liberal left, the regiment was assumed to be a highly trained bunch of right-wing stormtroopers. There was some truth in this impression, particularly since the large influx during the 80s of gung-ho paras, but only some. Men like Docherty, who came from families imbued with the old Labour traditions, were also well represented among the older hands. And among the new intake of younger men, the SAS emphasis on intelligence and self-reliance tended to militate against the rightist bias implicit in any military organisation. On returning from the Falklands, conscious of Isabel's opinions, Docherty had thought long and hard about whether to continue in the army. Up to that time, he decided, none of the tasks allotted him by successive British governments had seriously troubled his conscience. When one arrived that did, then that would be the time to hand in his cards. So, for most of the past 10 years, he and Isabel had lived just outside Hereford. Her cover during the mission in Argentina had been as a travel guide writer, and a couple of inquiries were enough to confirm that the market in